Hi, everybody. Dr. Gail here. I'm a trained medical specialist doctor. I've worked in anesthesia for over 30 years, but latterly I've become more concerned that modern medicine really hasn't got the solutions for our modern day diseases. And today I'm going to focus a little bit on one of the ones which is really life-changing for a lot of people and young people as well. And I'm going to focus on concussion. But first of all, let's have a look to see what the modern diseases are. They stem from our modern day life. We live a sedentary life with a bad diet, poor exercise, poor sleep, anxiety, stress city, whether it be financial stress, relationship stress. So, what does that do to our bodies? It gives us symptoms like brain fog, low energy, poor sleep, anxiety, anything with an itis on it, which is inflammation, any autoimmune disorder, metabolic disorders, and cancer. So, these are all symptoms of your cells crying out for help. The machinery of the cell is broken. They are not manufacturing the proteins and the enzymes that you need every day to function, and the balance has completely gone. So, what can you do? Well, you do have some control over this. There are things that you can personally control. You eat well, have nutritious food, don't have too many preservatives, try not to eat things that are too processed. Exercise, it doesn't have to be running marathons. It can be as simple as just going for a 20-minute walk every day, sleeping 8 hours a day, and getting that sleep hygiene at a stage where that you sleep and you wake up rested rather than exhausted. Mindfulness, concentrating on one job at a time and taking out the future and taking out the past, just focusing on the present. And of course, reducing our toxic load, whether that be from EMF, whether that be from Bluetooth, whether that be from Wi-Fi. Your environment is actually also controllable to some extent. Getting out in the sunlight every single day, that really helps for your vitamin D levels because the vitamin D is really important for your immune system. So if you can get out in the sunlight every day to make your own vitamin D, that is unbelievable in terms of your health. We need fresh air, clean water, water that hasn't got lots of additives in it, hasn't been through filthy pipes. Your body is made up of 70% water, so we want to make sure that what we take in is replacing whatever is nice and clean. And of course, reducing your EMF. Don't have your modem or your Wi-Fi in your bedroom at night. Don't have your cell phone right next to your bed. But my passion is all about how we can genetically control yourself. And that's through a science called nutrigenomics. It's nutrition, affecting your genome, your genes. And basically, everyone knows that you have DNA, which is your blueprint, but the science of epigenetics says that you can actually modify your blueprint by 80 to 90%. So you're not having to deal with what you've actually been given. You can actually change that. So we're talking about nutrition, working through cell signaling, turning on specific genes. It's quite different to supplementation. Supplementation is really just addressing a deficiency, whereas this is based on cellular activation. We're stimulating the body's natural health mechanisms or the machineries within the cell at the cellular level. So they enhance those processes, they support healthy aging, they give you energy, they improve sleep, and they improve overall wellness by activating those specific genes and pathways. So today I'm going to focus on concussion and we're going to look at what is it, what are the symptoms, and what can help. Well, basically, it's trauma to the brain. The brain is a very rigid structure. It's a bony structure, but within, that's the skull, within that brain, which is the soft tissue. So we have a brain which is made up of the soft tissue and the skull and bone which envelop it. Anything that causes damage to the brain or the skull is trauma. And it can be physical trauma. You might fall. You might have a direct blow to your head. It might be from a car accident. It might be from sports injuries. And we see a lot of rugby injuries who have head injury after head injury after head injury. What's happening is that the brain, because it's soft, it moves within that rigid skull, and any blunt force to it makes it get out of line and pushes it around like in a washing machine. But we basically call these all a traumatic brain injury or a TBI. So what does it give you? What are the symptoms that you get from a concussion? You can get a multitude of symptoms, brain fog, headaches, dizziness, fatigue, light and sound sensitivity. You might be forgetful, moody, or irritable, or you have difficulty sleeping. The bottom line is you just do not feel like yourself anymore. Everyone thinks you look fine, you look normal. What are you talking about? You've been to the doctors, the CT is normal, the MRI is normal. They say, just get on with it, but you're not normal. So let's break it down between the physical symptoms, the mental symptoms, and the emotional symptoms. Now, the physical symptoms, as I said before, headache, dizziness, insomnia, blurred vision, sensitivity, balance issues, and physical fatigue. Mental symptoms can be the brain fog, the inability to think clearly, slow reaction time, difficulty concentrating, difficulty in mental recall. You feel scatterbrained and you're tired. You can't do the things you normally would have done without having to sit down and have a rest. And emotionally, irritability, sadness, you're more emotional, things upset you much more quickly, you're nervous, you're anxiety, and you may even get depressed. So what's happened? Well, basically, your brain cells have been disrupted. The brain is made up of billions of brain cells, 10 billion brain cells, and they all interconnect with other brain cells, and that's what we call a neural network. And each of those neural networks are responsible for a certain type of function within the brain, be that speech, be that motor, be that sensory, be that emotion. So they are called neural networks. And if you look at the picture I've put on the right there, this is in India in one of the streets. This is similar to how your brain is. It's complicated, but if you cut one of those wires, what happens is to that specific building, they will not have power. They won't be able to run their factory. They won't be able to cook their food. They won't be able to have any lighting. And so that part of that street is basically shut down. And it's the same with your brain. When you get a physical trauma, your neural networks are disrupted. But it's not only just the physical disruption of the neural network, you also get a chemical trauma, and that triggers an immune response, so your brain becomes inflamed. You have got an inflammatory process going on within your brain. When you have high levels of inflammation, they actually lead to cellular death. So you kick off your brain cells because they release substances like glutamate, and which hyperexcites the brain cells, and then they overfunction and then they die. So we're disrupting neural networks physically and chemically. So what's happening? Why can't you heal? You rest, you do all of the things that you've been told to do, but things are just not changing. Basically, your brain is still inflamed and it is unchecked and it has not been addressed. You're also probably not your mental and emotional stresses very well. Your mitochondria, which are the energy bunnies within the cell, or the batteries that give all of the what we call ATP, which is the energy currency within the cell, have decreased in numbers. The brain has huge numbers of mitochondria per cell. Digestive imbalances. You may well be eating poorly. You may well have poor blood sugar, hormonal imbalances, toxins. And the other thing I've also found is that often if they don't get better, they find that they have a hidden infection. There's something going on in the body that they have not addressed. It may well be as simple as a tooth infection. So you say, well, that's all very well, Gail, but how do I stop or decrease this brain inflammation? Well, the most powerful way that you can do that is to activate the NRF2 pathway in your body and your brain. This one little yellow tablet turns on your own abilities to make anti-inflammatories in your cells. Make anti-inflammatories, make antioxidants, produce your own glutathione, produce your own superoxide dismutase, produce your own catalase. They are all enzymes, antioxidant enzymes that you normally produce in your cell. But as you age and as you get an injury, you get less and less of them. So what we're doing is supporting the production of these antioxidants, anti-inflammatories that are already there. The machinery is there in your body. Glutathione is a master antioxidant. It's the mother of all antioxidants, basically, and that's essential for blood-brain vessels to be able to repair. This product increases glutathione levels by 300 times. Can you imagine the power of that? Can you imagine the power of every single cell in your body making antioxidants? Nothing else is comparable. The next one I want to look at as a specific NRF2 for the brain is a drink called Axio. It enhances the neurotransmitters. Now, the neurotransmitters are just the chemical signals that go between the neurons or the neuronal functions, the pathways between the brain cells. It reduces mental fatigue and brain fog. It improves mood, concentration, alertness, and focus. And so Axio and NRF2 combined are brain food and also decrease the inflammation and increase your antioxidants. Simple as that. We're feeding the brain, we're reducing the level of inflammatory markers or inflammation, and we're increasing the antioxidant capacity. So what's NRF2 made up of? Well, it's natural, and it's made up of 5 different substances. Turmeric, we know, great anti-inflammatory, great antioxidant. Green tea, great antioxidant. Milk thistle, great for liver cleansing. And bacopa and ashwagandha, hormonal balance, mental clarity, mental focus. They put that together in a combination which is 18 times more effective than the individual agents alone. 1 tablet every day will produce your own antioxidants and anti-inflammatories. Now, it's not an absolute overnight fix because we've got to get that cellular machinery up and functioning again. So we do get a quicker result with the Axio. I find people get results with concussion within within the first week. Because we call this a nootropic, that's brain food. It maintains your nervous system function and health. As I said, it aids in the making of neurotransmitters. It supports energy levels, energy production, and maintains general mental well-being. 1 scoop in your drink bottle to keep you going all day and stop that afternoon slump, stop that brain fog from occurring. And what's that got in all natural? Again, it's got green tea, it's got asparagus, it's got caffeine. There is a non-caffeinated version as well. It's got magnesium, B6, and B3. B vitamins are also essential for brain health. So what about mitochondria? I mentioned that the mitochondria are the energy batteries within your cell. And you'll understand that because the brain requires a lot of energy, like the heart does, each brain cell has up to 2 million mitochondria. And there are 86 to 100 billion brain cells. So you do the math, you can understand how many mitochondria that we've got. If they are damaged and they're not functioning properly, what does that do to your energy? Down the gurgler. So this product supports a pathway, a genetic pathway, remember coming back to nutrigenomics, called the NRF1 pathway. This is specific to mitochondria, and what it does is it increases your energy so that the cells can heal, the neural networks can actually get reconnected, and also those regions, the neural regions, can function more optimally. What's it made of? Alpha-lipoic acid, grape extract, quercetin, acetyl L-carnitine, and CoQ10, all substances that we're aware of, but put together in a combination that stimulates a specific genetic mitochondrial pathway. So what other ways can we do to increase brain inflammation? Omega. Omega is really important because a lot of the brain or the brain cells and the neuronal connections, they have a lipid bilayer, and that lipid is important for neuronal conduction. So if you can imagine a conduit which has got hasn't got the outer casing, but the outer casing is broken, that means that you are not going to get the same sort of transmission throughout that electrical conduit as you would if the conduit was completely intact. And the omega can make that intact again. It also increases a substance called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and we get that in people who do a lot of exercise and also in saunas as well. Magnesium is also important. It supports that neuronal connection and also stabilizes excitable brain cells. We couldn't go anywhere without mentioning the gut. The gut has become one of the ways of looking at health basically, and if you haven't got a good gut, you're not going to have good health. The gut-brain axis is paramount to good functioning of health. And do you know why? It's because our neurotransmitters, most of them, are made in the gut, and then they go to the brain. Your serotonin, dopamine, made in the gut and transported up to the brain. So you imagine if you have poor gut health, you're not going to get the neurotransmitters like the happy hormones of serotonin and dopamine, and they are not going to feed back to the brain to say, yeah, let's do that. There are several different ways that you can make sure that you have good gut health. And here's a quick guide, eliminating all the processed food, having natural foods, slowing down or eliminating alcohol, having fermented foods or prebiotics, increasing your fiber, probiotics, and lots of water. What does that do? That increases the transit and gets rid of a lot of the toxic waste that is in your gut. So, how can we get your brain healthy again? Well, neuroprotection is the key. We want to activate your body and brain. We want to reduce the inflammation with the NRF2 and the Axio. We want to maintain that mitochondrial health with protanum NRF1, maintain the cellular membrane health with omega, maintain a healthy gut, sleep well, mild exercise, not till you're exhausted because you have got a lot of healing to do, being well hydrated and reducing stress levels. So this is a little bit hard to read, but I want to just read you a little story about one of the guys that I've been working with recently, 31-year-old man by the name of Tom, and names have been changed obviously for confidentiality. He suffered a significant head injury at rugby age 21, and that was in 2016. He had symptoms of fatigue, he didn't like noise or bright lights, he had headaches, no concentration, but all of his tests, the CTs and MRIs showed that his brain was structurally sound. He didn't have any real rehab because at that time they didn't really think there was much to do. So he was just told to just get on with it and push through, which he did. So he went again and he struggled and he studied and he became an engineer. He worked long hours and he did normal things that as a 24, 26-year-old did. He ran a marathon, but at 26 he had a crash. Everything, all of those concussion symptoms returned. He was anxious, he was depressed. And then after a few weeks of just resting up, he went on NRF1 and NRF2. And he said within a few days, he could think, he was much clearer in thought, and he remarked how incredible the difference was. So he stayed on a few months, and then although we encouraged him to stay on it, he went off it. He was a 24-year-old. They don't listen to your mum, don't listen to other people. And he didn't want any further help, and he didn't want any medications or natural supplements. Okay, that's fine. He had another period of experience the same symptoms at 27. He went to London, and at 30, the wheels really came off. He had a demanding level of study. He was battling with all of the concussion symptoms again. He couldn't really get his life back on track. He was severely depressed. He was fatigued. He wasn't sleeping. He came home basically to get well again. He took magnesium, had great results. It has to be a specific brain magnesium, magnesium threonate, and he found that that was very helpful. He went back on the protanum NRF1 and NRF2 for the last 6 months, still on it. And what did he say? He feels better. He's sleeping better, less symptoms. He's calmer. He's actually returned to a high-level job, working overseas, studying again, and exercising and having a normal life. He knows that without these, he would have continued to go through a process of up and down and getting the concussion back again. The brain is so important and you've got to heal it properly. My next little story is Carl, again, changed names. Again, a head injury at rugby with subsequent concussion. Now, Carl was a self-employed electrician and he really needed to work, but he couldn't because he didn't have any energy, he didn't have any focus, he had brain fog and he became depressed, he became isolated and he didn't want to participate in life anymore. He started on protanum NRF2, he took one twice a day, and he had incredible results within the first couple of weeks. Within the first week, his mum and grandma said, he's now communicating with us. He's been isolating from us and now he's starting to talk again. Week 2, he's drain laying. And then within a month, he was back working at his normal business. And he also feels that there's no way that he could have healed without the power of protanum NRF2. And so this is what we've got. We've got something life-changing that decreases that brain inflammation. All of the other things are really important as well. This is just the icing on the cake for concussion. So what do we want to do in terms of how we can really get to heal this post-concussion? Heal your brain cells by decreasing the brain inflammation, enhancing neurotransmitter production, support that lipid bilayer and enhance your mitochondrial function. Good nutrition, good gut health, good sleep hygiene. Saunas are great for increasing your BDNF. Decreasing your noise stimulation. You've got to actually really look after yourself. Block out junk light at night. Don't be on your phone until you go to bed at night. Gentle exercise, mini breaks, meditation so that you focus and you become mindful. So in summary, you know, a happy brain gives you a happy life, and happy cells give you a happy life. I'm here to make a difference. And if you need to reach out to me, please feel free to do so, drgailpearson.com. Or if you want the products, just go straight to my website, livinglight.lifevantage.com, and I'll put that in the comments. And hopefully, let's get you well. Let's get you better to your good health.